Welcome to A Garden a Day with Maidenbrock Gardens, where we explore the world one garden at a time. Today is April 11th. All the way back in the 1990s, just about every college co-ed had a poster of Monet's waterlilies on her dorm room wall. The posters, of course, did not compare to Monet's actual paintings of waterlilies. And the paintings, even though quite famous masterpieces, each one, do not compare to the real gardens at Claude Monet's house in Giverny, France, which is where we are exploring on today's garden visit. Claude Monet lived and gardened at his home in Giverny for 43 years, from 1883 to 1926. Monet was a founder of Impressionism painting and is given credit for coining the term from the title of his painting Impression Soleil Levant, which he exhibited in 1874 along with works by other artists as an alternative to the mainstream and official art exhibition at the Salon. By the time Monet moved to Giverny in 1883, he was already well established as an artist, though not necessarily well financed. He was, however, well suited for the stability of family life and a home, and his years in Giverny were quite prosperous. There is, of course, so much more to say about Claude Monet, but we are here for the garden. So, after renting the house for 3 years, Monet purchased the home and spent 40 years perfecting his gardens. When he and his family moved into the home, the house had been abandoned and sat nearly in ruins. Monet set about restoring it and added on to the original structure. He also designed the gardens. Though he painted 2,500 or more canvases in his career, Monet considered his garden his masterpiece. The land around the house, which is only about 3 acres, had been planted as a kitchen garden and apple orchard. Monet removed most of the apple trees and planted flower beds in their place. He sowed seeds for nasturtiums, poppies, and sunflowers, planted daffodil and tulip bulbs, added primrose, delphiniums, peonies, and asters. Prior to moving to Giverny, Monet had rented houses and worked the gardens within the desires of the home's owners. But by owning this home in Giverny, Monet had free rein on his gardening ideas. He used his artistic eye to create the gardens with explosive color and flowers blooming year-round. He planted flowers in groups of a single color, and the result is similar to that of paint on an artist's palette. He did not like constrained gardens. He let the flowers grow freely, preferring asymmetry and curves. The garden in front of the house is called Clos Normand and was designed with the same aesthetic as an Impressionist painting, with blurred lines and a disregard for the norms and rules of gardening of the time. It's a rather romantic garden, with apple and apricot trees, climbing roses and vines covering arches over the garden path. Monet was inspired by English and Japanese gardens, Parisian flower markets, and Dutch tulip fields. There are blooming cherry trees, pansies, alliums, wallflowers and roses, salvia, and dahlias. About a decade after moving to Giverny, Monet purchased neighboring land and dug a small pond fed with water from a small brook that's a tributary of the Seine. His neighbors complained, fearing that his exotic plants were poisoning the water. It took some time and some wrangling with the local authorities, but Monet was eventually able to expand his pond to the size it is today. Monet was inspired by sketches of Japanese gardens, and he installed a Japanese-style bridge over the pond, shaded by weeping willow and wisteria. The pond shows the interplay of light and shadows and became a focal point of much of Monet's painting. This is where Monet's famous water lilies bloom. They reach their peak bloom in July. Along the pond's edges, rhododendrons, azaleas, and irises grow. Along with the beautiful garden, a visit to Giverny is not complete without touring the house. Monet painted the exterior of the house pink with green trim, and the interior is just as colorful. A blue and white kitchen, a bright yellow dining room, a blue sitting room, and a red and white checkered floor continue the vibrant theme. The size and shape of the house is also notable. It is a long and narrow rectangle, about 131 feet long by only 16 feet deep. Claude Monet died in 1926. His son Michel inherited the house but did not live there. By the end of World War II, the property was entirely abandoned. Windows had been shattered during the war, and the roof had collapsed. The pond had dried up, and a tree was growing in the artist's studio. Michel left the estate to the Académie des Beaux-Arts in 1966, and in 1977, plans to restore the property to the glory of Claude Monet's day began. Monet's house and gardens opened to the public for the first time in 1980. Much care is taken in preserving the plants, therefore visitors must stay on the footpaths and picnics and dogs are not permitted. The garden is open from April 1st to November 1st from 9:30 to 6 every day. July, when the waterlilies bloom, does happen to be peak tourist season with the largest crowds. If you're unable to visit, there's a virtual tour of the gardens on the garden's website. There's also a restaurant on site, and their menu is on their website. I've included a link to both of those in the notes. Well, that's about it for today's garden visit. Join me here tomorrow to find out where we're going next. If you haven't done so yet, I invite you to subscribe to the show and leave us a review. I really appreciate all your support. Thank you for listening. That's about it for today. If all goes well, I'll be right back here tomorrow. See you then.